Hello all, and welcome back to the Salty Safecracker. I'm Josh, and in this video, which took forever for me to upload, you will see me humbled by this safe. Let's open a safe.
Upside down.
Thanks again for joining me. A little background on this safe. Unfortunately, as you can tell, it was in a house fire, and the dial was melted off. So my first idea to open the safe was to get visualization of the lock mechanism from the top, thereby not needing to drill through the front, which is where the majority of the security in a safe is found. When I got to about this point, I was able to see that there's multiple relockers and that the lock mechanism itself is currently engaged, which makes sense. The safe was locked during the fire, still locked. That's why I'm here to open up the safe. But importantly, neither of the relockers had fired, and you'll see why that's important shortly and how this safe ended up humbling me. Fast forward a little bit, because this did take me approximately 6 hours, and that's why it took so long to post, was trying to go through all of that footage, both of my scope and of the external view, to give you guys a good story in which to follow. This is the back side of the lock with my scope, and it allows me to see into the lock and determine the combination. That said, the combination was already known, but there's no reference point on the front of the safe to dial any longer. So I was finding where approximately these numbers were so that I could try and dial it out like I would normally from the front of the safe. That was unsuccessful, to say the least. I spent about an hour trying this before I decided to drill through the front of the safe to get visualization of the inside of the lock mechanism. And that's what's happening here. Now at this point, I have visualization of the internal workings of the lock, and I'm able to see the gates physically line up with the drop-in and manually dial it out like you would normally. However, at no point in time was I able to get it to drop completely in. I still don't know why it didn't. It should have. Did not. And now, because I have drilled through the front of the safe, I know I have set off at least one of the relockers. Shortly after that, I make my next mistake and decide to punch the bolt to unlock the safe and fire the second. Here you can see the first and the second relocker now preventing me from unlocking the safe. Here's a little clip of me trying to punch those bolts out, but they are secured with 1/4-inch steel and not really interested in going anywhere. And unfortunately, I made myself another problem, because in my efforts to punch the bolt, I actually pushed the pin that secures the spring farther back and got it stuck on a plate. So at this point in the video, I had been working on the safe for approximately 4 hours, and it was time for me to take a break. It was approximately 15 degrees outside. I was cold, I was tired, and I needed to reset and think about how I wanted to approach the safe. The following morning, after 2 more holes, I was able to lift up the relockers and open the safe.
This is where you start laughing so you don't cry. Right? Yeah. Still, you're filming.
Or so I thought. No, but really, here shortly we're able to get the safe open, but the fire warped the door, squeezing it into place, and it had to be pried open. Once the safe was opened and the client was able to get all the documentation they needed, they were kind enough to let me take the back off of the safe to learn more about how I was able to get myself in such a long opening, rather than the optimistic 1 hour that I was thinking when I started the job. And you can see the owner actually sitting having a chat with me. I'm showing him the mechanics of the lock and workings of the safe and how I got into the job, and more or less spend time with the client. And it wasn't something I foresaw when I started this job, but being able to work and meet with people in my community is a reward unto itself. That said, if you hung on and stayed through the video, I truly appreciate you for joining my community.